Under Homeland Security, which is headed by dual Israeli citizen Michael Chertoff, it has been suggested that similar models as Operation Garden Plot should be employed. Quote, oversight of these Homeland Security missions should be provided by the National Guard Bureau based on the long-standing Garden Plot model in which National Guard units are trained and equipped to support civil authorities in crowd control and civil disturbance missions, unquote. Testimony of Major General Richard C. Alexander, Angus, retired, Executive Director, National Guard Association of the United States, Senate Appropriations Committee hearing on Homeland Defense, April 11, 2002. On 17 July 2008, Governor of Chicago, Rod Blagojevich, raised the possibility of bringing in state troopers or even the Illinois National Guard to help combat crime, as reported at the Chicago Tribune. This same day, on 17 July 2008, ClickOnDetroit.com reported that Michigan Attorney General Mike Cox hosted a conference Thursday that brought more than 200 law enforcement leaders together to meet with members of the Israeli National Police to discuss security issues. The meeting was one in a series of exchanges between American and Israeli law security agencies. It is also the first one ever to be held in Michigan. Now learn the truth of Operation Garden Plot. The following information was obtained under the Freedom of Information Act. The information herein is declassified and does not come within the scope of directions governing the protection of information affecting the national security. It took a little more than 3 years to obtain a full copy of Operation Garden Plot from the U.S. government. In this document, signed by the Secretary of the Army, is hereby assigned as DoD Executive Agent for Civil Disturbance Control Operations. Under Plan 5.5 TAC 2, he is to use airlift and logical support in assisting appropriate military commanders in the 50 states, District of Columbia, and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and U.S. possessions and territories, or any political subdivision thereof. The official name of this project is called Operation Garden Plot. Under this plan for the deployment of Operation Garden Plot, the use of CIDCON-1, Civilian Disturbance Readiness Conditions, will be mandatory. This direct support of civil disturbance control operations is to be used by the Army, United States Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, with an airlift force to be comprised of MAC, Organic Airlift Resources, airlift-capable aircraft of all other United States Air Force major commands, and all other aerial reconnaissance and airborne psychological operations. This is to include control communication systems, aeromedical evacuation, helicopter and weather support system. If any civil disturbance by a resistance group, religious organization, or other persons considered to be non-conformist takes place under Appendix 3 to Annex B to Plan 5.5 TAC 2, hereby gives all federal forces total power over the situation if local and state authorities cannot put down said dissenters. Annex A, Section B of Operation Garden Plot defines tax protesters, militia groups, religious cults, and general anti-government dissenters as disruptive elements. This calls for deadly force to be used against any extremist or dissident perpetrating any and all forms of civil disorder. Under Section D, a presidential executive order will authorize and direct the Secretary of Defense to use the armed forces of the United States to restore order. To Tab A, Appendix 1 to Annex S, United States Air Force Civil Disturbance Plan 5.5 TAC 2, Exhibit PORSGH, Juliet, Charlie, Sierra, Publication 6, Volume 5, Alpha, Foxtrot, Romeo 160, TAC 5, hereby provides for America's Military and National Guard State Partnership Program to join the United Nations personnel in said operation. This links selected United States National Guard units with the Defense Ministries of Partnership for Peace. This was done in an effort to provide military support to civil authorities in response to civil emergencies. Under Presidential Decision Directive Number 2.5, this program serves to cement people to relationships between the citizens of the United States and the global military of the UN, establishments of the emerging democracies of Central and Eastern European countries. This puts all of our National Guardsmen under the direct jurisdiction of the United Nations. Section 3. This plan could be implemented under any of the following situations. Situation 1. Spontaneous civil disturbances which involve large numbers of persons and or which continue for a considerable period of time may exceed the capacity of local civil law enforcement agencies to suppress. Although this type of activity can arise without warning as a result of sudden, unanticipated popular unrest, past riots, it may also result from more prolonged dissidence. This would most likely be an outgrowth of serious social, political, or economic issues which divide segments of the American population. Such factionalism could manifest itself through repeated demonstrations, protest marches, and other forms of legitimate opposition, but which would have the potential for erupting into spontaneous violence with little or no warning. Situation 2. Planned acts of violence or civil disobedience through arising from the same causes as one above are seized upon by a dedicated group of dissidents who plan and incite purposeful acts designed to disrupt social order. This may occur either because leaders of protest organizations intentionally induce their followers to perpetrate violent acts, or because a group of militants infiltrates an otherwise peaceful protest and seeks to divert it from its peaceful course.
Protesters at this week's summit in Montebello are accusing police of trying to incite violence.
This is videotape posted on YouTube of a confrontation between two groups of protesters. Or is this man actually a protester? The man and his two friends certainly dress the part, bandanas covering their faces. One even has a rock in his hand. As the confrontation continues, the three back towards the police line and then are brought through, where they're arrested and taken away in handcuffs. These are the boots worn by police. Here are the boots of two of the men they arrested.
Civil disturbance may threaten or erupt at any time in the continental United States and grow to such proportions as to require the use of federal military forces to bring the situation under control. Juliet, Charlie, Sierra, Publication 1-8, Doctrine for Operation Security, Alpha, Foxtrot, Romeo, Fife, TAC, Tree, 0, Operations Security 1, General. Opposition forces or groups may attempt to gain knowledge of this plan and use that knowledge to prevent or degrade the effectiveness of the actions outlined in this plan. In order to protect operations undertaken to accomplish the mission, it is necessary to control sources of information that can be exploited by those opposition forces or groups. OPSEC is the effort to protect operations by identifying and controlling intelligence indicators susceptible to exploitation. The objective of OPSEC in the execution of this plan is to assure the security of operations, mission effectiveness, and increase the probability of mission success. Number 2, responsibility for operations security, OPSEC. The denial of information to an enemy is inherently a command responsibility. However, since the operations officer at any level of command is responsible to his command for the overall planning and execution of operations, he has the principal staff interest in assuring maximum protection of the operation and must assume primary responsibility and instability for ensuring that the efforts of all other staff elements are coordinated toward this end. However, every other individual associated with or aware of the operation must assist in safeguarding the security of the operation. 3. Objectives for operations security, OPSEC. A. The basic objective of OPSEC is to preserve the security of friendly forces and thereby to enhance the probability of successful mission accomplishment. Security in this context relates to the protection of friendly forces. It also includes the protection of operational information to prevent degradation of mission effectiveness through the disclosure of prior knowledge of friendly operations to the opposition. B. OPSEC pervades the entire planning process and must be a matter of continuing concern from the conception of an operation throughout the preparatory and execution phase, and during critiques, reports, press releases, and the like conducted during the post-operation phase. 4. Operation orders and SOP, standard operating procedures. Specific operations orders and standard operating procedures must be developed with the awareness that the opposition may be able to identify and exploit vulnerable activities. Released under Freedom of Information Act on 30th March 1990. All material presented here has been declassified and supersedes USAD Operations Plan Tree 5 TAC 10 of 16 July 1973.